going live right now, and you are joining us on X at Next News, X Daily Post, Trump Daily Post on X, as well as on our flagship YouTube channel and on Rumble. And we're going live. We got our White House rundown. It's 7:52 p.m. in Washington, D.C. It's almost 90 degrees there right now. How's the temperature by you? Drop a comment and we'll get started. We got more news after the White House rundown. Good evening. I'm Gary Franchi, Next News Network Chief White House Correspondent. For the button not working on the thingy-dingy, can we get the button working? We started so strong, too. My foot pedal button is not prompting. What happened here? Okay, talk to the chat, Brian says. Okay, hi, chat. What's up, chat? Going to pop back in. Ms. Pothead Kenny, good to see you. Resto Guy and Dave and Jeremy. Yeah, we're just getting started here. The good news is, speaking of time, we don't have to worry about daylight savings time anymore. I'm pretty excited about that. Okay, Brian, good. Yeah, daylight savings time. That's, well, at least it just passed in the House. It's got to go to the Senate and then eventually to President Trump's desk. I think the Senate can come together on that one. We're still waiting on the Save America Act. We do have some news on that a little bit later in the broadcast. Good evening. I'm Gary Franchi, Next News Network Chief White House Correspondent, delivering the latest White House news from the past 24 hours in partnership with Trump Daily Post. President Trump used today to project strength on two fronts at once, pressing forward with new Iraqi partnership at the White House while laying down a harder line on Iran and backing that with a public push to get Todd Blanche confirmed as Attorney General. He also pointed to falling inflation, previewed major voting machine news on Thursday night, and kept the focus on results. And according to the daily guidance from the White House, our president began Tuesday with executive time at 8 a.m. at the White House. I assume that's when they deliver him breakfast in bed. Anyway, the schedule then set up a 11 a.m. greeting for the Iraqi Prime Minister Ali al-Zaidi, an 11:15 bilateral meeting in the Oval Office, a 1:30 meeting, a 3:30 swearing-in ceremony with Senator Tim Sheehy, and a 4:30 pre-taped interview with Trey Yingst in the Roosevelt Room. And from today's pool report, the Prime Minister of Iraq arrived at the White House at 11:06 a.m., pulling up to the northern entrance of the West Wing, where President Trump greeted him in person. In brief comments to reporters, the president said, "We love Iraq," and welcomed the new prime minister after his election before the two men moved inside. Minutes later, while the press pool waited for Oval Office access, attention centered on President Trump's Strait of Hormuz message on Truth Social, and that issue soon became one of the day's major points in the president's press exchange. At 11:57 a.m., the press pool entered the Oval Office as the bilateral meeting coverage got underway. Once inside, President Trump opened with warm praise for al-Zaidi, calling him a great fighter and a great fan of America. He said their chemistry was so strong that an unplanned lunch would follow, and he hailed the Iraqi leader as young and handsome and a new champion. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Treasury Secretary Bessent, War Secretary Pete Hegseth, and Susie Wiles were seated in front of the president for the session. Then at 12:02 p.m., President Trump took questions and sharpened the administration's message on the Middle East and the economy. He said he dropped the idea of a 20% fee on the Strait of Hormuz after Gulf Arab leaders offered major investments in the United States, saying he preferred that outcome. He tied Iran's aggression to its own big mistake, praised cooperation with Iraq, highlighted lower inflation last month, and told Americans to remember it for the midterms, and confirmed that Thursday night's speech will carry really, really big news on voting machines, and described the recent NATO summit as a love fest. He also said that Senator Lindsey Graham's death was believed to be from natural causes tied to family heart history rejecting conspiracy chatter. At 1:02 p.m., the White House called a lunch lid through 2 p.m. as the president's meetings continued behind closed doors. By 6:03 p.m., the press pool received a travel and photo lid, closing out the public schedule for the day. After the afternoon policy meeting, the swearing-in ceremony with Senator Tim Sheehy, and the pre-taped interview with Trey Yingst. In a White House press release, the administration also mounted a major confirmation push for Todd Blanche as Attorney General. The release stacked support from the Fraternal Order of Police, the International Association of Chiefs of Police, the Major Cities Chiefs Association, the National Association of Police Organizations, sheriff's groups, the Federal Law Enforcement Association, and former Attorney General William Barr, all urging the Senate to move swiftly. Taken together, the past 24 hours show a White House pressing its advantage: active diplomacy, a firm security posture, a public case for law and order leadership at the Justice Department, and a president keeping the spotlight on investment, inflation relief, and election integrity. And that's the latest from the White House. Now let's move into the day's top stories coming to us from around the nation. We're going to get into Nick Shirley, man. That guy, I love that kid. I love him. He is just kicking butt and taking names. We've got big news out of New York, as well as the fallout from the revelations there. The White House taking action. We're going to get some more news on Iran as well, with respect to the Iraqi Prime Minister in the meeting in the Oval today. More details on that. And then everyone's talking about this big Thursday speech that President Trump has planned. A lot of people are pointing to 2020, revelations of election fraud, perhaps even overturning results. So we're going to take a look at the latest chatter on that. And of course, we can only speculate what is going to happen on Thursday at 9 p.m. in the Oval Office this week. Also, the communists are moving forward, and so is Representative House Speaker Johnson. He's pushing back on communism, as is the White House. It's a major threat right now. The infiltration of the Democrat Party by the Democrat Socialists of America has created a serious move in the direction of communists. I mean, they're really using the Democrat Party as their insertion point to overthrow the United States. And we have some information with respect to how they plan to do that. We're also going to get into more news on ICE. Apparently, Governor Pritzker making some noise. And also the latest on the economic front and the embarrassment of the economists again, because President Trump's policies have proven right. So we're going to get into all that right now. Do I have to tell you? Sunrise Senior Services operator, snap that on camera and stop right there. See, that line tells you everything. Nick Shirley walks up with the public filings, points at $12.9 million billed in 2024, $10.8 million for adult daycare, $2.1 million for transportation. And the answer isn't a clean denial. It's panic. It's attitude. It's a hit dog hollering. And this isn't some giant hospital campus either. We're talking about a one-story building tied to 7,899 members. Come on, guys. I mean, you can feel the scam sweating through the screen. And wait till you hear the second location claiming 348 beneficiaries in just one day while hauling in $5.5 million. See, we're talking about $12.9 million. In 2024, 7,899 members at one New York City daycare. That number should just punch you in the face, because this is your money getting vacuumed through a blue city fraud pipeline while honest Americans work, pay taxes, and get played for suckers. Now look at the pattern. Sunrise Senior Service, that's the company. They bill $10.8 million for adult daycare, another $2.1 million for transportation. Then the operator gets cornered and starts playing games instead of answering basic questions. Then Nick Shirley hits a clinic that grabbed $5.5 million in 2025 and claiming 348 beneficiaries in a single day. A single day. Okay, read that again and try not to get furious. Normal people follow the rules. These outfits, okay, they gorge on Medicaid-style billing, kickbacks, and bureaucratic cover. And who let this rot spread? New York's machine politicians. The city enforcers who looked away, and the establishment crowd that spent years stalking citizens while parasites looted the treasury. And that's why Trump's crackdown matters. He's not polishing talking points. What is he doing? He's hunting the thieves. And breaking tonight, rising defense demand and near-record tungsten prices are pushing Washington deeper into the race to secure critical minerals supply chain outside of China. Tungsten is now a tungsten national security priority that's used in fighter jets, tanks, missiles, drones, and ammunition. Yet there has been no U.S. commercial tungsten mining since 2015. Now, Project Vault includes a $12.5 billion strategic stockpile and a $30 billion domestic production push, with Pentagon funding restarting efforts. Vault Strategic Mining, trading as KNOX in Canada and KNXFF in the United States, is building a growing U.S. tungsten portfolio around historic tungsten assets in mining-friendly U.S. jurisdictions, including the Nevada Great Basin flagship with Second World War history, approximately 10,000 feet drilled, and a U.S. Geological Survey regional estimate of roughly 168,000 tons of tungsten oxide, with an estimated in-ground value of $30 billion to $50 billion. Check out the full briefing. It's linked below just for you. Now let's go back to this, because we're talking about 348 beneficiaries in one day, 5.5 million in 2025. That's the detail. I can't shake it, because the minute Nick Shirley asks the obvious question, they don't explain the math. They demand his ID. Right? I mean, look at that move. Not answers, not records, not transparency. Give me your ID. That's what people do when the numbers torch them. And that panic lines up perfectly with the Sunrise clip you're about to see. Impossible billing, instant hostility, zero straight answers. Now I'm going to pull up the receipts, and I'm going to walk you through who billed what, because the paper trail is real. We have this from Catch Up, the feed, 12.9 million billed in 2024. 10.8 for adult daycare. These are the public filings of Sunrise Senior Service, one of the many suspected fraudulent senior daycares in New York City.
For the fraud or claim or something, right?
Oh, so you can tell us where the other fraud's at? We're outside of Sunrise Senior Service. In 2024, this adult daycare right here billed $12.9 million. In adult daycare, they paid $10.8 million, and in transportation, they paid $2.1 million. The last daycare we were at said this is the one that is taking all their clients and they're giving kickbacks. Because then we were doing like some numbers and it said you guys made like $12.9 million in 2024, and which is a lot of money, and then like $2.1 million for transportation companies. So like you guys billed $12.9 million, and then out of that $12 million, 10 was for adult daycare and 2 was for transportation.
Yes.
And so they're saying they're giving kickbacks.
No, we don't. So where? Who
Where?
told you that?
Well, the other daycare, because they didn't want to give us kickbacks.
Yeah, because we don't offer kickbacks.
No kickbacks.
No kickbacks.
Do you think it's true that a lot of these daycares are like committing fraud?
I heard some other daycares are doing fraud, but we don't do fraud thing.
How many members do you guys have?
I don't have to tell you.
Because here it says you guys have 7,899. This place doesn't look like it can hold 7,000 people. Well, this is public information because it's public tax dollars that you guys are receiving.
I don't have to tell you, right?
Yeah, but do you guys have 7,000 members, for instance?
No, we don't have 7,000 members.
It says you have 7,899 in 2024, so that's not true.
7,000 members?
Yeah, so you guys are you guys overbilling then? Because you guys are getting paid per patient $1,600. and that's how you guys got $12.9 million in 2024. But did you have 7,000? I think you'd remember if you had.
No, I don't. We don't have 7,000 members.
So, how come you guys billed for 7,000 people then?
Do I have to tell you?
Well, you like $12.9 million on 7,000 patients, and you say there's not 7,000 patients. Are you committing fraud? Oh, ma'am. How are you? Does this daycare give kickbacks? Does this daycare pay you to come here?
여기.
She just said yes. She just said yeah. She said yeah. God bless you.
God bless you.
I love your shirt, USA. She just said they get kickbacks.
So the first stop already looked rotten. 12.9 million billed, nowhere near the head count, and a brazen "do I have to tell you?" Now Nick Shirley walks into another taxpayer-funded operation claiming 348 patients in a single day and gets stonewalled fast. Wall Street apes flagging this post, and we bring it to you.
Annual checkup. What are the odds that the day Nick Shirley shows up to have an annual checkup? The odds of that happening are very, very slim. So you guys received $5.5 million in 2025. In your peak day, you guys have 341. Yeah, right here. So how come one day you guys had 348 beneficiaries?
No, I didn't answer. Can you give me permit?
We don't need a permit to film. But do you think there is fraud taking place here inside some of these daycares, ma'am?
Can you give me your ID? Everybody,
Can you give me your ID?
Yes, sir.
Give me your ID.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
So give each other your IDs then. Give her your ID as well.
Give me your ID first.
No.
So I'm not going to give you my ID. My name's Nick Shirley. I have nothing to hide. For you guys' benefit, it would help if you guys could just answer.
I don't want to benefit.
I don't
What's
think
an
you
F-
understand what I just said.
What's
$5.5
million?
Have a good day.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Are you guys committing fraud by chance?
No.
To give you an idea of how insane this is, they're claiming to serve 348 patients in one day. So how big of a practice would you have to serve almost 350 patients in one day? Well, the average doctor can serve about 20 to 30 patients per day. This is based on the amount of time that's in a day. So to serve 348 patients, you would need about 14 full-time doctors seeing 25 patients each. So I don't think this practice has 14 full-time doctors. So the actual facility itself would need a lot more staff. You would need about 100 people working full-time at this location to be able to serve 350 patients. You need a
So after the clinic couldn't explain the math, started demanding ID, the fraud trail only got hotter. Next, Nick Shirley lays out how this Queens daycare scheme came together and why the left wants him shut down. Dinesh D'Souza, at the young age of 24, he writes, Nick Shirley continues to expose fraud despite the countless threats from the left as they try to stop him. God bless Nick.
So I started this investigation on these adult daycares in Flushing, Queens, and I go to this first location and they're like, well, we're losing all our clients because this daycare is offering kickbacks. And I said, well, is the fraud real? And they say, yes, the fraud is very much real. And so then I kept digging and I went to this next location, and at one location they had 7,000 patients, more than 7,000 patients, and they were billing up to $12 million. And it's only one-story building. Wow. On the second floor of a building.
Wow, Nick. I mean, the video is stunning, and then you have, a great co-pilot there in.
Yeah, Dr. Oz was with him. So you heard it from Nick. Tiny buildings, giant billing numbers, and threats the moment someone asks questions. Next, the Trump DOJ shows what happens when Washington actually decides to hunt fraud instead of protect the swamp. Assistant AG Colin McDonnell announces that in less than 1 year since its launch, the Trade Fraud Task Force has officially surpassed $1 billion in criminal and civil recoveries.
98 days ago, based on the vision of President Trump and Vice President Vance, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche announced the creation of the National Fraud Enforcement Division at the Department of Justice. Our goal is to protect taxpayer dollars and stop the brazen thievery of America's wealth and generosity. In the last 98 days, the Department of Justice has announced over 900 major fraud enforcement actions across the country, including cases targeting billions of taxpayer dollars supporting Medicaid, Medicare, SNAP benefits, unemployment benefits, education benefits, and more. Today, alongside the Department of Homeland Security and other federal partners, we are announcing an extraordinary enforcement milestone in a new frontier of fraud enforcement. That is trade and customs fraud. In less than 1 year since its launch, the Trade Fraud Task Force, which is now a permanent force within our fraud division, has officially surpassed $1 billion in criminal and civil recoveries, penalties, forfeitures, and charge losses.
Let's go. That's the difference when the adults are back in charge. Enforcement with teeth. Now, press release leader up next. The DOJ puts a number on it. More than $1 billion recovered through the Trade Fraud Task Force. This might just be another angle.
Today, alongside the Department of Homeland Security and other federal partners, we are announcing an extraordinary enforcement milestone in a new frontier of fraud enforcement. That is trade and customs fraud.
So the first announcement set the headline, the next official makes the stakes plain. It's not paperwork, it's theft for American workers, families. DHS lays out why the trade fraud hits every citizen in the wallet. Assistant Secretary for Trade and Economic Security.
CBP and HSI man the front lines of our defense against all manners of threats to this nation. Today's achievements would not be possible without their commitment to protect the homeland. The mission of the Department of Homeland Security and the Trade Fraud Task Force is simple: to protect the security, public safety, and economic prosperity of the American people. HSI uses its international and domestic operations in more than 200 cities and 47 countries to identify, investigate, and dismantle criminal activity that exploits the infrastructure of global trade in order to defraud the American people. And as the nation's largest law enforcement agency, CBP leverages its intelligence-driven operations and far-reaching authorities to enforce U.S. tariff and trade law and collect lawful revenue. By combining DHS's operational reach and investigative authorities and DOJ's prosecutorial expertise, the task force represents a sea change in U.S. government strategy to combat trade fraud and eliminate the economic incentives of criminal activity.
So DHS making the point clear, fraud isn't victimless, and President Trump's moving to cut off the profit motive. Now Fox wraps it together with the scale of the crackdown and why DOJ says this is only the beginning.
Yeah, John, and the Justice Department is calling trade and customs fraud a new frontier of fraud enforcement. In just under a year since DOJ and DHS launched the Trade Fraud Task Force, officials say their work has passed more than $1 billion in recoveries in court, penalties, forfeitures, and charge losses against folks who are trying to smuggle goods into the U.S., lying about what those items are in order to evade tariffs. Those cases have now included everything from gold jewelry to aluminum, drones, quartz cabinet, and ceramic tiles, all adding up to hundreds of millions of dollars in customs charges that officials say those companies are robbing the American people of. DOJ officials say this is just the beginning, though.
Make no mistake, this $1 billion milestone is a baseline, not a finish line, and we are just getting started. To the fraudsters who think that they can slip under our radar, we are dedicated to finding you and bringing you to justice.
In addition to all the enforcement they've already done today, the DOJ announced it's creating a new section within its fraud division to lead this fight in going after customs trade and customs fraud enforcement, everything from customs evasion, slave labor, and health and safety violations. This is all just part of the administration's larger efforts to tackle fraud at every layer of government, with every agency and department asking to do everything they can to tackle it. John?
Yeah, well, the numbers keep adding up, and it's getting to be real money now. Garrett Tenney for us in Chicago. Garrett, thank you.
So based on the vision of President Trump and Vice President Vance, came the line from Colin McDonald. That is the split you can actually see with your own eyes. Nick Shirley exposes the street-level scam, and Trump's DOJ smashes the bigger fraud machine above it. In just 98 days, the National Fraud Enforcement Division blasted out over 900 major fraud enforcement actions. In less than a year, the Trade Fraud Task Force ripped back more than $1 billion in recoveries, penalties, forfeitures, and charged losses. That is what law and order looks like when adults take over. Not excuses, consequences. The villains built a system where clinics, daycares, and trade cheats treated America like an ATM. Trump and Vance flipped the script. Now the question gets asked. The books get open, and the crooks finally look scared on camera. Senior Sunrise Service. Answer the question. How did you bill $12.9 million? Can we just start there? Put the records on the table, explain the 7,899 members, explain the transportation money, explain why your operator's answer was, do I have to tell you? When the public filings got read right back at him. And New York officials need to get dragged into that light too, because this racket did not grow in a vacuum. Somebody approved it, somebody ignored it, somebody benefited. You and I know the old game. The ruling class shrugs, the media looks away, and the taxpayers eat the bill. Well, not this time. Trump's DOJ already proved the muscle is back with more than $1 billion recovered and over 900 fraud actions in 98 days. Good, keep going. Raid the scam hubs, freeze the money, hammer the middlemen. And if you're watching this, keep pushing these receipts out because public pressure matters when the thieves start scrambling. Americans are done funding the con, and the panic on these fraudsters' faces tells me that they know it. And I've seen your comments. I can only imagine what your faces look like when you can't seem to find us. And that's why we set up this telephone number just for you, and thousands of patriots are already taking advantage of it. My question is, are you? Just text the words raw feed to 844-840-4963. That is how I send you a direct notification to your phone once a night to make sure you stay in the loop. So you get the notification from me when YouTube never sends it. Comment below. We'll see you at the next report. For the Next News Network, I'm Gary Franchi. Okay, where do we go from here? All right. Okay. All right, Brian, let's move along into our next topic. Let's talk about what's going on with Iran. And a big death billboard has just been put up in Iran. We're going to show it to you. Tehran death billboard exposed as Tim Kaine runs cover. I never liked that guy, personally. Never liked him, one bit. Okay, Brian. I'm just tracking the feed here. Since we got the internet upgrade today, yeah, we did. Looks like it's okay. Vali Isar Street now carries a Tehran billboard of the White House burning. And not just the White House, coffins for President Trump, his family, and Netanyahu sit right in front of it under blood for blood, eye for an eye. And stop right there and take that in. While Iran hangs open death propaganda in public, Tim Kaine runs to the cameras whining about Trump instead of the regime making the threat. And that contrast is really the whole story. Trump just hosted Iraq's prime minister for an unscheduled lunch, called him a champion, and hammered Iran after they shot first. But wait until you hear what Gulf leaders offered Trump instead of a straight fee. Billions and billions of dollars is what leaders offered Trump to invest here. I'll read that again. Not another blank check overseas, not another lecture from a think tank. Billions flowing into the United States because Trump used leverage and the region knows the adult is back in charge. And at the exact same time, Trump said oil companies are moving into partnerships with Iraq, and we don't think we need the military there anymore. You see, that's the win right there. Less Iranian grip, less American exposure, more American money, and more American strength. Now look at the other side. Tim Kaine called it a foolish, illegal war after Iran blew up the ceasefire and after Tehran plastered a death banner of a burning White House. Now you tell me, who is Kaine protecting when he jams up the Senate floor with that garbage? I stopped at that line because it exposes the whole Democrat racket. Trump gave Iran a chance. They shot first. Trump snaps back. Kaine shields the terror ecosystem and calls that virtue. No. That road gets Americans killed. And when kings and emirs start calling Donald Trump with billions, you should ask where the little guy still gets trapped by bureaucratic games. Start with Medicare. Big Insurance built a Medicare confusion industrial complex of junk mail, robocalls, and fine print so seniors stay stuck. Chapter blows that up. They're very simple, and it's by design. One call, one advisor, under 20 minutes. They look at your doctors, your prescriptions, your whole situation, and tell you the truth with no propaganda, just facts. You see, they work for you, not Big Insurance. If you're already on the right plan, they will say it. If not, they can help you switch. Last year, people who found new plans with Chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. So call Chapter at the number on your screen right there. It's a free call. 910-728-4109. You've got nothing to lose. See, clarity beats freeloaders every time. Clarity's leverage and confusion keep seniors trapped. Ali Al-Zadi got an unscheduled White House lunch today because Trump said they had tremendous chemistry. See, that's not a throwaway line. Now watch the move here with me. Trump isn't begging Baghdad. He's pulling Iraq out of Iran's shadow in real time. He even said the other option was not good for America and not good for Iraq. And that's how you know this was a deliberate checkmate, not a cocktail party diplomacy session. And while Kaine cries on cue, Trump is building a pro-America bloc and cashing leverage into U.S. investment. Now let's get to the Post because the receipts on this are brutal. Take a look here. This is what the Iranians have just erected. Laura Loomer breaking this story today. Erected this new billboard banner in Tehran showing the White House on fire with the coffins of President Trump and his family members. It says, blood for blood, eye for an eye. That is what they are putting up. And they're so proud of it too, aren't they? Well, President Trump is about to finish that game. The billboard wasn't subtle, a direct threat at Trump and Netanyahu in the crosshairs. And instead of calling it what it is, Tim Kaine jumps on camera to attack Trump over the Strait and call the fight illegal. The ceasefire falls apart. And now Trump says America must be the guardian of the Strait. Look, we're already Team America, man. Get over it.
Is anybody really surprised that we're back here again? Today we learned that the ceasefire that the president negotiated was unraveling, and we're returning to Iran and the United States and other nations trading back and forth fire. The president announced that the U.S. was going to take over the Straits and be the guardian of the Straits, and that suggests this war is going much, much longer than 5 months. We need to get out of a foolish war that's hurting America and a war that's also illegal, and I'm going to do all I can to make sure we do.
Yep, we know what side you're on, buddy. We know what side. So he calls it a foolish war, acts like the real problem is Trump. Now Senate Republicans fire back saying Kaine is effectively doing the bidding of a terrorist regime. Senator Kaine is siding with a terrorist regime simply to jam up the Senate floor. So Kaine getting torched for running cover. Next, Trump revives talk of seizing Karg Island, where most of Iran's oil exports move out. President Trump just reposted calls for the U.S. to seize Karg Island. I'm surprised they haven't done it already. The location where Iran sends out 90% of its oil. That would be a death blow to the regime. And I'm not sure why he is holding back. But here is the Post and some remarks, it looks like, from his Turkey summit.
We attacked Karg Island last night. We knocked out a piece. I said, don't touch the oil, because maybe we'll take over Karg Island. You know, we may take over Karg Island. There's not a thing they can do about it. But I said, don't hit the pipes, just hit everything else. And they hit it. They may hit it again tonight.
So Carg Island would hit the regime where it hurts most, in the pocketbook. And while the pressure builds, Trump is also working the diplomatic side, welcoming Iraq's prime minister to the White House. This happened today. Trump welcoming the Iraqi prime minister to the White House.
We love Iraq, and they're well represented. This man just won a big election. They are very well represented. I can tell you that. Thank you very much.
So you just saw the formal greeting outside the White House. Inside, Trump goes further, praising Iraq's new leader, even throwing together an unscheduled lunch.
Well, thank you very much. We've had already a good meeting. We're going to decide to do a little lunch. It wasn't scheduled, but we are going to do it on the fly because we have a tremendous chemistry together. The Prime Minister of Iraq has been amazing. He won an election that a lot of people didn't anticipate could be won by anybody else other than another person who was not, in my opinion, a good person. Not good for America. I don't think good for Iraq. And I played a role in, it was very important to me to have somebody get in there that can do the job and do it well. And we have a fantastic champion, a new champion. And he won the election very soundly, very conclusively, and he wasn't favored. But by the time they got to know him, he ended up winning. And he's going to be there for a long time. So I just want to say it's a great honor to have the Prime Minister of Iraq with us. He's been a great fighter, and he's been a great fan of America. We'll be discussing that a little bit with you. But they have tremendous oil reserves. They have tremendous potential wealth, and they have tremendous wealth, not only potential. But he's done in a short period of time, he's changed that country so much, especially toward their thinking about the United States. And we have partnerships. Chris was just saying we have tremendous oil partnerships all of a sudden being formed over the last short period of time, and I guess you're going to be announcing them this week or next week, but massive, among the largest. So they have done a fantastic job over the last very short period of time, but they have a great leader, the new Prime Minister. He's a great leader. I think he's going to be there for a long period of time, and it's great to have you at the White House. Thank you very much.
So, Trump laying out energy alliances and who he wants leading Iraq next. He reveals Gulf leaders called offering billions in U.S. investment instead of a straight fee. Trump reveals wealthy Middle Eastern leaders called him, offered to invest billions and billions into the U.S. if he took off the 20% toll from the Strait of Hormuz.
I was called by different people, different countries, kings and emirs and all of the people that we all know and we all love, and they've been very strong partners. And they said, we'd love to do it a different way. We'd love to invest in the United States with billions and billions of dollars and continue our record setting, because there's never been a time like this for the United States, with the factories, with the plants, with everything else. And we would like to invest tremendously in the United States as opposed to charging a fee. And I like that, actually, because I don't think anybody should be able to charge a fee for the strait or for any other straight relationship in terms of other sections of the world. I don't think anybody should be really in that position. But we were doing it as a reimbursement. The Gulf states are going to invest a tremendous amount of money into the United States, and that was very satisfactory to me. I think it's actually much better.
I can also add.
So while the media screams war, Trump says allies are lining up to put serious money into America. Here he doubles down, saying those Gulf investments are the better deal.
Well, we don't think we need the military there anymore. It's a very big operation. And what we do have is the oil companies are all going in now, and they're doing partnerships with Iraq. and they're getting along very well. The relationship is a whole big relationship where we don't need the military. We're there to help them. We're there to protect them if need be, but we don't think that's going to be necessary. And their primary, I consider an opponent. They might have considered a friend, but I consider that an opponent was Iran, was a big burden on Iraq because they were the bully of the Middle East, as you know. And we were just talking about that, but they're not going to have that problem anymore because Iran has been very much destabilized, and really their military power is just a tiny fraction of what it was just 4 months ago. So they're not going to have that problem. I think that it's really, in a sense, it's given them freedom to do what they have to do. And I think that's one of the reasons that our oil companies are going in there at levels that have never been seen before. So
that's the Trump formula: strength abroad, cash coming home. He ties it back to Iraq. Next, saying U.S. oil partnerships are growing while Iran's grip on Baghdad is breaking.
So when I put that out yesterday, because we've been doing that for many, many years, it was never fair to me that we would be guarding the strait when we basically don't take anything. We don't need the oil at all. And it wasn't important for us, but it was important for allies. It was important for people that we get along with very well, including the major Gulf state countries. So I put it out yesterday. I thought it was good. I was called by different people, different countries, kings and emirs and all of the people that we all know and we all love, and they've been very strong partners. And they said, we'd love to do it a different way. We'd love to invest in the United States.
Then he gets asked the key question: any regrets about lifting the blockade and sanctions waivers?
Given how the Iranians have been behaving, do you have any regrets about lifting the naval blockade or giving the sanctions waivers?
No. I gave them a chance. I wanted to give them a chance at making a deal. We had a deal 2 days ago. It was done. And then all of a sudden, they couldn't do it. They didn't like something about the deal. They couldn't do it. And they shot first, and that was a big mistake that they shot first because we have been knocking the hell out of them. They're very difficult people. 47 years we put up with it. The SS Cole, you go back all the way, thousands of people, thousands of Americans were killed, a lot of soldiers were killed. A lot of soldiers are walking around or not walking around. I mean, they've been so badly injured. The arms, the legs, the face, with the Soleimani, with the bomb. They call it the roadside bomb. Most people call it the roadside bomb. It's a disaster. And I killed him in my first administration. Had I not, it might be a different story today. He was a mad genius. He was probably a madman, but he was a general, and he had total control over the country. And I actually think the leaders of Iran were afraid of Soleimani. But I killed him. And by the way, with him went a very bad person also. They happened to be meeting each other at the airport. And a very bad person from Iraq happened to be a leader of Iraq, happened to be killed in that same incident. So I don't know if I did you a favor or not. I've never asked you that question. You probably would know better than me. But no, I think that what we've done to Iran is we've taken away almost all of their military capability.
No regrets, he says. Now the military response ramps up with new strikes and the Navy moving to lock down the strait. Trump has ordered the U.S. military to conduct more strikes on Iran as the U.S. Navy gears up to reinstate the blockage of the strait.
Trump's orders, U.S. jets have been launched tonight to strike Iran for the 6th time in the past week. Earlier, President Trump met with Iraq's new prime minister. He's only been in the job about 2 months, and like President Trump, has a background in construction and media.
What we do have is the oil companies are all going in now, and they're doing partnerships with Iraq, and they're getting along very well. The relationship is a whole big relationship where we don't need the military.
Iraq's prime minister said all 2,500 U.S. troops in Iraq will leave by late September. Last night at sea, strike aircraft launched from the George H.W. Bush and the Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln has now been at sea, Martha, for over 200 days without a port call. F-35Bs also launched from the amphibious assault ship Boxer nearby. Tomahawk cruise missiles also fired from destroyers in the strike groups. Despite the American bombardment over the past week, Iran has been launching attacks of its own against neighboring Gulf states, including Kuwait and Bahrain earlier today, where U.S. troops are housed. This is the aftermath of an Emirati tanker hit by an Iranian cruise missile last night, killing one crew member and wounding 8 others. Other tankers were hit as well, and tanker traffic has slowed in the Strait of Hormuz. There have not been any attacks by Iran against Israel since early June. The last attack by Hezbollah into northern Israel was roughly 2 weeks ago. That said, Martha, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu issued this warning to Iran earlier today.
Do not count on it being quiet if you attack us. Do not count on a rerun. This will be a different event. Much more powerful.
So after the strikes, the contrast couldn't be clearer. And then Chuck Schumer steps up on the Senate floor and delivers a different kind of a meltdown. The Blaze notes, clean up on aisle Schumer. Democrat Senator Chuck Schumer appears to have farted while giving a speech on the Senate floor.
And we need a complete investigation that's independent. Now on Iran and the NDAA. When all the Trump administration... And we need a complete investigation that's independent. Now on Iran and the NDAA. When all the Trump administration...
Goodness. Chuck Schumer just farted on the Senate floor. They shot first, and that was a big mistake. That's what Trump said, because we have been knocking the hell out of them. There it is. No apology, no mumbling, no weakness dressed up as sophistication. Iran fired. Trump hammered back. Then Tehran answered with that billboard. White House on fire, Trump family coffins, blood for blood, eye for an eye. And Tim Kaine looked at that regime, looked at those threats, and chose to attack Trump's response as illegal. I want you to sit with that choice for just 1 second. Kaine didn't get cornered into it, he made it. Chuck Schumer babbles on the White House floor while the Iranian regime blasts death imagery in public, and Democrats still can't find the moral spine to name the enemy. Trump did. He destabilized the bully. He pulled Iraq closer. He made the Gulf states pay us with investment instead of American blood. So Tim Kaine needs to answer one question. Why did he run cover for Tehran? Not in the abstract, not with Senate word games. Why did he attack Trump after Iran shot first and after Tehran put up a billboard showing a burning White House and coffins for the president's family? That answer matters, and every Republican should force it into the open. You and I just watched the split screen together. Trump welcomed Ali al-Zaidi, built chemistry on the fly, pushed Iraq further from Iran, and said we may not need the military there anymore, and turned the straight pressure into billions of dollars for American investment. That is America First power used correctly. So here's what we do with it. Name the regime, name the Democrats who shield it, and expose every media clown who downplays an open death threat against an American president. And keep your eye on the Iraq piece. Keep your eye on Karg Island, and keep your eye on the money that's coming home. Trump is not dragging America into weakness-driven chaos. He's making enemies fear us again. That's exactly why the right people are panicking. And I recognize that you're panicking too. You can't find us in the feeds. You're not getting the notifications from YouTube. So we set up this number, and thousands of patriots are taking advantage of it every single day. Just text the words raw feed 844-840-4963. Text the word to that number, and you will be on the insiders list, and you will not be left in the dark. Look forward to seeing you. We'll see you at the next report for the Next News Network. I'm Gary Franchi. Okay, Brian, it looks like that the slider camera is still kind of a little choppy. Oh well. Okay, moving right along, we're going to be going into this discussion about President Trump's remarks that are planned for Thursday. We've got Washington in quite a twist. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Like I said at the open of this broadcast, I think people are talking about the decertification of certain elections. People in Georgia are freaking out right now. So we're going to get that, specifically Senator Warnock. Never liked that guy. Okay, Brian, I'm ready to rock when you are. We'll go into this next story. Well, if you're listening, then you don't have to distinguish anything. Okay, is this better now? Okay. Okay. FBI agents pulled documents, phones, and computers from Fulton County's election warehouse. Sit with that for just a second. They did that before President Trump's Thursday 9 p.m. address to the nation, where he already warned us, without free and fair elections, you don't have a country. And suddenly, Raphael Warnock, MSNBC hacks, and Harry Sisson all start singing the exact same song. Baseless! Sow doubt! Interfere! Really? Then why the panic before a single declassified page hits the table? Why the scramble now? Stay with me, because the Fulton County raid is only the opening shot. Without free and fair elections, you don't have a country. That's what President Trump said. And that line, it hit me because he's not talking about some side issue. He's talking about whether this country still belongs to citizens or the Democrat machine media cartel. The one that spent years, 6 years, smearing every election integrity question as heresy. And look at the pileup. FBI agents raided Fulton County and grabbed documents, phones, and computers tied to the 2020 election. House Republicans advanced the Save America Act. That's good news. 215 to 211. An illegal in North Carolina pleading guilty for faking U.S. citizenship on a 2024 voter form. And what did Dick Durbin do with that? He snapped. The SAVE Act cannot pass the Senate, nor should it. Then Hakeem Jeffries flatly said citizen-only protections are not happening. Watch that pattern. They don't defend clean elections, they block them. And that's why Trump's 9 p.m. speech this week on Thursday, it matters so much. If he blows open foreign interference, machine corruption, or ballot fraud vulnerabilities, the whole censorship racket they built after 2020 starts to crater in public. And breaking tonight, pressure is building on the critical mineral supply chain as Washington treats tungsten as a tungsten national security priority, tied to fighter jets, tanks, missiles, drones, and ammunition. The United States has seen no U.S. commercial tungsten mining since 2015. Project Vault, it outlines a $12 billion strategic stockpile alongside a $30 billion domestic production push, and the Pentagon funding restart adds urgency. Vault Strategic Mining is assembling historic tungsten assets in mining-friendly U.S. jurisdictions, using proven former mines and modern exploration techniques to target reliable supply outside of China. Its Nevada Great Basin flagship in North America carries Second World War history, a defense-related exploration contract, and approximately 10,000 feet drilled. A U.S. Geological Survey regional estimate cites roughly 168,000 tons of tungsten oxide, an estimated in-ground value of $30 billion to $50 billion. Check them out, KNOX in Canada and KNXFF in the United States. There's a full briefing down below. just for you. So the date is now in stone. Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern. President Trump addresses the nation, and MSNBC pre-spun it already. That's the part I keep coming back to. Before Trump even speaks, David Rode on MSNBC is already whining that declassification will sow doubt in the midterms. Do you hear that? They're not waiting for facts. They're building the escape tunnel first. It tells you everything about who's scared. And when you line that up with Fulton County getting searched and Warnock melting down, the pre-buttal panic gets impossible to miss. Now, let's walk through all of the receipts. Eric Doherty writes, illegitimate Senator Raphael Warnock is melting down after reports say President Trump may soon expose massive 2020 election fraud in Georgia, confirming Warnock and Ossoff were elected by fraudulent means following a major FBI raid in Fulton County.
FBI agents are going through materials found today during a search of the Fulton County, Georgia election office. That search is said to be related to the 2020 election. Correspondent David Spunt has details tonight. Good evening, David.
Brett, good evening. FBI agents are still on site at the records warehouse for the Fulton County, Georgia Board of Elections. The matter is sealed before court, meaning details are limited, but we can report this is related to the 2020 presidential election. Sources tell Fox News that agents retrieved documents, phones, and computers after a judge signed a warrant. President Trump has long made Georgia, and specifically Fulton County, a target of his complaints relating to the 2020 election. Shortly after that election, Trump spoke to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger and said he needed 11,780 votes to win the state. At the time, Raffensperger said he felt pressure from Trump and denied any widespread election fraud. He continues to deny it to this day. Now, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis brought state criminal charges against then former President Trump and others in 2023 for conspiracy to overturn the election. But her prosecution, Brett, was eventually derailed completely after it was revealed she had an intimate relationship with the top prosecutor on her team, and it could have tainted the case. Late last year, a judge dismissed the case in its entirety. Now, Brett, last month, the Justice Department sued Fulton County, Georgia, seeking access to 2020 voting records after state officials allegedly failed to respond to a subpoena. Fox News has learned the head of the FBI's Atlanta field office was recently forced out in recent days, but it's unclear, Brett, if this is all related.
So the Fulton County raid as Democrats rattled. Now watch MSNBC rush to pre-spin Trump's next move, calling any new 2020 documents baseless. Yes, they're terrified. DNC propagandists on MS Now get in front of the upcoming 2020 election declassification.
It appears the president is entering a new chapter in his effort to question the results of the 2020 election and potentially sow doubt in the upcoming midterms. A new White House task force is expected to begin releasing documents on alleged and so far absolutely baseless evidence of election irregularities in the coming weeks. That is according to two officials with knowledge.
Okay. I gave you 22 seconds. MS Now still carrying water. See how she emphasized baseless. How many times have we shown you here on this channel the truth, the facts? The ballots being pulled out from underneath tables, rerunning them, people throwing them away. The blocks, the paper put up over the window so you couldn't watch the tabulation. Baseless, my ass. MS Now. I expect nothing less.
Knowledge of the matter. An acting director of national intelligence, Bill Pulte, will be a part of it. I'm going to guess front and center. Joining the group chat, MS Now senior national security reporter David Rode. What do we need to know, David?
So your summary was perfect as always, but it's very concerning. This is, I think, the first of a bunch of efforts we're going to see between now and the midterm elections to sow doubt. And all this is unprecedented. So this task force in the White House is going through thousands of pages of classified documents from the CIA, the NSA, and looking for election irregularities. The president himself can declassify it, and they can cherry pick examples, that may be playing to the president's conspiracy theories. Just this week, or excuse me, last week, a top Justice Department official sent letters to every single election, all 50 states, to election officials saying, if you allow non-citizens to vote, we will prosecute you on federal charges.
Good.
No election official that I've ever heard has intentionally allowed a non-citizen to vote. That is spreading the president's conspiracy theories about massive non-citizen voting. This is not in the story, but Secretary of State Rubio is hosting a conference of international leaders about the spread of Antifa worldwide. It is not a worldwide thing, but this is just what we're seeing. And then we've reported this before, but FEMA, which is supposed to provide grants, the new tactic.
Right. Antifa has cells all over the world, especially in Europe. This guy says it's not a worldwide thing. Whatever. MS Now propaganda. Already running cover, trying to shut down the story early. Next, one of the left's top online mouthpieces flat out panics. Harry Sisson. All hell is about to break loose on Thursday. Trump is going to give a speech to the nation about non-existent election fraud in 2020 and declare that Georgia's 2 Democrat senators are illegitimate. He's laying the groundwork to challenge the midterms. WTF. And then Meltdown tells you exactly how nervous they are, and then Trump makes it official, posting that he'll address the nation Thursday night, 9 Eastern, on Truth Social. President Trump will be making a speech. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So Trump locks in the time and raises stakes. Here he says the announcement's really, really big. Ties it directly to free and fair elections. This just a few hours ago in the Oval Office.
Anticipating your big announcement on Thursday night regarding election machines and integrity, can you give us sort of a sneak peek about what to expect and tell the audience?
Well, I'd rather save it. It will concern that subject, and we'll have a couple of other things to say also. But I'd rather save it. But it's really big news. It's really, really big news, and our country has to shape up. But that's what we're going to be talking about Thursday. Is it doesn't get bigger. Because without free and fair elections, you don't have a country. We'll be discussing other things too, but it's going to be a very big announcement. Yeah.
Kara Kashanova scoring the question in the Oval for Lindell TV. Congratulations. So Trump says this is as big as it gets because without honest elections, you don't have a country. Up next, even Democrat Senator Richard Blumenthal admits foreign interference should be pursued if the evidence is credible. More from Lindell TV. He's Blumenthal responding to reports of alleged foreign interference in the 2020 election. Allison Steinberg scoring this question.
President Trump is set to address the nation Thursday night. He's reportedly has new declassified intelligence that reports foreign interference in the 2020 election. Any insight into that or thoughts on this latest
foreign interference? Yeah. I've seen reports about foreign interference in our elections, and I think that it needs to be pursued if there's credible evidence.
Would that be a reason to get the Save America Act passed?
I haven't seen the latest. I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, he's going to meet with CIA Director Ratcliffe, Bill Pulte, Kash Patel, and Mark Wayne Mullen. It's a group meeting set to happen Thursday.
I haven't seen whatever.
Relating to.
So even a Democrat can't completely dismiss what may be coming, but House Democrats are taking a much harder line. Hakeem Jeffries caught refusing to back a citizens-only voting law. Hakeem Jeffries admitted he's refusing to pass a law ensuring only citizens can vote in elections. More from Allison Steinberg here.
Leader Jeffries, what do you make of Anna Paulina Luna talking about attaching the SAVE Act to the DHS funding bill when it comes back to the House with the amendments made for DHS?
That's not happening. The reality is, what's in front of us right now is that ICE needs to be dramatically and totally reformed. Big changes are needed that are bold and transformative, period, full stop.
So do you support the SAVE Act, SAVE Act voter ID for elections? Do you support that?
We support dramatic changes to the manner in which DHS has been conducting itself. Taxpayer dollars should not be used to kill and brutalize American people and to violently target law-abiding immigrants. It's not a controversial position. It's the position that the overwhelming majority of the American people hold, including apparently now the NRA.
What about the FBI raid in Fulton County? Are you concerned any fraud is going to be uncovered there?
Donald Trump continues to want to litigate the fact that he lost the 2020 election. I don't understand how he thinks this is going to help his position, which is failing before the American people.
Hakeem Jeffries dancing around the question. Next, Dick Durbin doubles down in the Senate and claims the SAVE Act can't pass and shouldn't pass. Allison Steinberg scoring this as well.
Senator, you've previously stated your opposition to the Save America Act, stating that it's uncommon for non-citizens to vote in American elections. But Lindsey Graham was a big proponent of that, and it sounded like he was actually about ready to have a pathway forward to getting it across the finish line. Do you think we'll see a resurgence of the Save America Act, and what are your thoughts on that?
I still think it cannot pass the Senate. It doesn't have 60 votes, nor should it. Lindsey and I, this is an issue we disagreed on. It comes down to it. We have 77 examples out of millions and millions of registrations in this country. This is not a problem, nor should it be. It's against the law for someone who is not a citizen to vote, and they'll be prosecuted if they try it. It's pretty serious.
It's also against the law to drink and drive, but it still happens, right? I mean, there's evidence.
You want a perfect situation? I can guarantee you the SAVE Act is far from perfect. To require half of the American people who have no passports to spend $165 or $225 as a poll tax so they can vote in November, you think that's American? I don't.
But, I mean, Senator Mike Lee has said that there's ways around this if someone doesn't have access to that documentation.
Put them in writing. And I can tell you this, when you put them in writing, it becomes impossible to ask people to make this kind of sacrifice for 77 examples over years and millions of voters. It just is not a problem. It's the president's fascination with election reform. It's not necessary.
Thank you, Senator.
But why not have the safeguards in place? I mean, just to ensure it. 77 instances. So he insists non-citizen voting isn't a real problem. He wants the SAVE Act buried, but the House just moves anyway, advancing inside a must-pass national security bill. The House advanced the Save America Act inside a must-pass national security funding bill with yeas 215 and nays 211, which is great news.
On this vote, the yeas are 215, the nays are 211. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Love it. They got it inside a must-pass national security funding bill. The House has put the pressure squarely on the Senate, and if Democrats will say this never happens, the next case on North Carolina blows that talking point apart. Caught red-handed, an illegal pleads guilty to fake U.S. citizenship on North Carolina voter form for 2024 election, now facing up to 5 years behind bars. This is why we demand voter ID. President Trump posting this on Truth Social, making it abundantly clear with the headline from WBTV.com. Man pleads guilty to false U.S. citizenship claim on North Carolina voter form. So the guilty plea is exactly why the election integrity fight's not going away. Next, Tina Peters lays out the broader case against voting machines, ballot harvesting, and mail-in fraud.
We don't have to prove anymore that these machines are cheating, that the ballots are being harvested, that all these things, the mail-in ballot, we don't have to prove that anymore. There is enough evidence to show that these processes should never be in place, even if we didn't have all the proof that we have in Mesa County Report 1, 2, and 3 from 5 years ago. We have enough to show that these processes, these machines, the registration database that David Becker with Sear and all of that they can't be trusted. So if a process and a mechanism of recording the people's vote accurately can't be trusted, it has to be gone away. It has to be thrown away, and new processes implemented. And they're very simple. The processes to replace these machines and these processes is very simple. People try to make it sound too difficult and too complicated.
Thank God she is out of prison now. That's not happening. Hakeem Jeffries said about citizen-only voting protection, there it is, strip away the slogans, the fake outrage, the media fog, and that's the confession. Trump says free and fair elections are the lifeblood of the republic. Jeffries says locking elections to citizens is off the table. Dick Durbin says the SAVE Act cannot pass the Senate, nor should it. Raphael Warnock starts flailing as the FBI hauls out phones and computers in Fulton County. MSNBC hacks yell baseless before the documents even drop. You're watching a guilty system defend every weak point at once. Right? Machines, mail-in ballots, non-citizen loopholes, sealed warehouses, all of it. See, Trump didn't create their panic. He simply cornered it. And now the people guarding the racket are blurting out in their own words exactly what they never wanted you to hear. So President Trump declassify every page Thursday night, name every culprit. That's where this has to go. No half measures, no buried annexes, no letting Raphael Warnock, Hakeem Jeffries, tricky Dick Durbin, and the MSNBC propaganda crew slither back behind another wall of censorship. Look, you and I just watched them panic before the speech even happened. That means they know the ground under their story is cracking. So here's what needs to follow. Expose the intelligence, expose Fulton County, pass the Save America Act, scrap any voting system Americans cannot verify, and force accountability onto every official who protected this mess. Trump already put the marker down for 9 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. Watch it live. Bring people with you, because if the FBI is already pulling phones, computers, and documents in Georgia before the address, then Thursday night won't just be another speech. It will be the moment the election gatekeepers lose control of the script completely. And I don't want you to lose control of the script either. I want to make sure you're informed. That's why this number exists, just for you. Thousands and thousands of patriots have already texted the words raw feed to 844-840-4963. Take control of the script back from the gatekeepers who are keeping the news from you. I will send you a notification direct to your phone via text message so you can stay in the loop. We'll see you at the next report. For the Next News Network, I'm Gary Franchi. Oh, it's going to be a big, big day on Thursday. I cannot wait to see what goes down. That is going to be just an epic moment. Okay, we're moving right along here into our next topic. Let's see where we're at. We're moving into... yes. Speaker Johnson sounding the alarm, and the Democrat Socialists of America, enemies of America, in the crosshairs, as they should be. Ashik Sadiq flatly said abolishing the Senate is part of our platform. Stop right there. That's not some campus kid mumbling in a coffee shop. That is the Democrat Socialists of America co-chair saying out loud that the constitutional republic itself is in the way. And then House Speaker Mike Johnson comes in swinging, this is not a game. That's what he said, and he's right. We're not arguing over tax brackets anymore. We're staring at a movement that wants to smash the guardrails, grab the wheel, and call it democracy. And wait till you hear the line Johnson used about these mini mandamis, because that's the part the media will try their hardest to bury. Because communism, yes, quote, has led to the murder of tens of millions. That was Mike Johnson's warning. Hear that number and then look back at what Ashik Sadiq confessed. He wants the Senate gone because the left hates any institution it can't instantly hijack. And that's the whole game. You abolish restraints, you expand the House, you flood the system, and suddenly the mob machine runs everything. And while they still sell you free stuff, Steve Scalise is pointing at the thermostat line. 78 degrees, government telling you how to live in your own home. You see the pattern, right? Control first, freedom last, then dead last. Trump nailed it when he warned that communism, once it takes hold, you never come back. And I want you to sit with that because he didn't toss that line out for drama. He said it because history already wrote the ending. The Democrat Party didn't drift into this. It opened the door, rolled out the red carpet, and let the wreckers walk straight in. When a Sheikh Sadiq brags about abolishing the Senate, you start asking a harder question. If radicals can target institutions, what happens when hackers or AI target your bank account? Noble Gold Investments gives you something real, not digits that disappear in a cloud blackout, but physical gold and silver that you can own, a coin you can hold, a bar you can stack. Wealth that doesn't live on a server. It can't be frozen by a keystroke and can't be erased by code. And they can ship it right to your door or help place it in a tax-advantaged retirement account. Go to nextnewsgold.com, just mention my name. And right now, America's 250th also means a free 10-ounce U.S. independent silver bar when you open a new qualified account. Own what bureaucrats and bugs cannot lock away. Now, Bryant Mark got held up as a communist success. And it's privately funded. That detail just wrecks the whole fantasy in one shot. Leftists waved around a New York park like Zohran Mamdani cracked the code and the place runs on capitalist money and private security. Okay? Their proof that communism works depends on private funding and private guards. They're clowns, absolute clowns. And that humiliation matters because it shows these people can't even market the scam without borrowing from the system that they hate. Now let's walk through the receipts because the tweets light this up fast. Democrat Socialist of America co-chair Sheikh Sadiq says the part of the platform would be abolish the Senate.
We just don't see the point of the Senate. Historically, it was meant to serve very wealthy people who owned a lot of land. And that's still a system that we have today. And it's something we would change. We would expand what the House of Representatives does and make it more actually representative of people who live in this country.
So would you like to abolish the Senate?
That's part of our platform, and we don't think that's extreme. We think it's a change that would help make this country more democratic.
Abolish the Senate. It's called checks and balances, pal. So there it is from the DSA itself. Abolish the Senate. Now Speaker Johnson answers with both barrels, warning Democrats are dragging the country towards communism. He's going berserk on Democrats trying to institute communism nationwide.
What happens? It's inevitable. Communism and this philosophy has led to the murder of tens of millions of innocent people in the 20th century alone. It is a nightmare. It is a trail to certain death, okay? And that's why we're speaking in such stark terms, because we need America to wake up. We're not even, look, 35 years ago, Republicans and Democrats in Congress, when I was coming up in, the Reagan years, they were fighting communism on a distant shore. Now it's here. But in Congress, they all agreed on that. They obviously knew that we had to fight communism. And so what they were doing here for domestic policy, that was foreign policy. Domestic policy, they were arguing over, marginal tax rates and the shades of regulation and how large the government should be. There wasn't a huge difference, a chasm between the two parties. Those days are gone. Right now, domestically, we are arguing, we are debating, we are fighting. The election will be over whether we're going to maintain our freedom in a constitutional republic, the greatest experiment in self-governance in the history of the world, the longest surviving constitution on the planet, the nation that everybody wants to emulate, and everybody wants to come here. We have to seal our borders so they won't flood over them. We're the only nation in the world that has that distinction. We're the last great superpower. We are the greatest nation in the history of the world. We are fighting right now in Congress over whether we're going to maintain our status as a constitutional republic or we're going to trade that in, dismantle the foundations, and go down this dark road of death to communism. That is the question on the ballot this fall. Now, DSA published their platform. I hope you're all covering. I hope you're writing in depth about their platform. I read it out at an event a few weeks ago, and they've made an ad mocking me reading their platform.
So Johnson calls this a fight for the survival of our constitutional republic. Next, he gets more direct, calling these rising socialist candidates a danger to your family.
It's in their platform. They want to remove the carceral state, they said. No prisons. They don't want to fund the police. This is not a game. Everybody needs to understand. These crazy little mini Mamdanis who are popping up all around the country, they are a danger to you and your family. This is not a game. If they promise you free stuff, there is far more beneath those promises that even some of these people do not understand themselves. And so we are here as the Republican Party to stand on the founding principles of the greatest nation in the history of the world. It is our duty to do that. And we're doing it on behalf of all of you, even the journalists who don't agree with our policies all the time. You better agree on these principles, because it's what keeps you free. By the way, it's what keeps the press free, okay? This is essential for your well-being and your family. This is not a game. This is not our father's Democrat Party. We're not arguing over marginal tax rates anymore. We're arguing over whether or not freedom is going to survive. And that's why we're so serious about this.
Wow. Here he says the Pentagon needs hundreds of billions more because, in his words, we're fighting communism on our own shores.
There's been a lot of discussion about what's going to be included in this reconciliation bill. Can you walk through how important and how imminent it is that the Pentagon needs additional funding and what that number precisely is going to be in the Republican bill?
So the question was, can you list the specifics of what the request is for the Pentagon? We've seen it's over $350 billion as a request. And some of this is transformational kind of funding that will help us change the dynamic of the Department of War and make it more efficient and effective. It's already the greatest fighting force on the planet, not even close. But there are some ideas, a real vision on how to improve that even further, to bolster that. You've heard the president talk about how he wants to effectively double the funding for national defense. Look, we live in dangerous times. We're fighting communism on our own shores, and we're fighting evil terrorists and tyrants around the world. And we have to be able to protect our national security. So this is not the place to get into the details of that.
The threats here at home, and the left predictably runs the fact check and sneer. Next, you'll see their response to dismiss the warning, attack the messenger. The intellectualist writes, you heard the president talk. Fact check, they say this is false, and speaks to Johnson's unfitness.
But there are some ideas, a real vision on how to improve that even further, to bolster that. You've heard the president talk about how he wants to effectively double the funding for national defense. Look, we live in dangerous times. We're fighting communism on our own shores, and we're fighting evil.
So he says, the intellectual says this is false. Well, the media class says Johnson's unfit for saying communism's on our shores. But now, even a former Hillary Clinton advisor admits the socialist wing inside today's Democrat Party doesn't love America.
I'm going to agree mostly with what Mehek said and also with what was said in that editorial. These people, they're not crazy. They're ideologues, but they don't love America. Let me say that. A lot of these people do not love America. And I'm not Team Democrat, I'm Team America. And if we have people in our party who are so far left that they are saying we don't want to protect people from crime, well, that's just absurd. And by the way, we're not going to win a national election, let alone an election in Michigan, if that's our position.
And now, meanwhile, leftists are trying to sell New York as proof their ideas work. In this next clip, here's Steve Scalise. I'm sorry, Steve Scalise puts it in plain English with a simple example of how government control starts one mandate at a time. Here.
Andami, with a smile just a week and a half ago, in a record heat wave in New York City, told the citizens of New York to raise their temperature up to 78 degrees on their thermostat. I guess that's the warmth and collectivism of socialism that he talked about in his campaign. Not the kind of warmth people of New York were counting on. But that's how it starts. It starts where you can't raise your temperature over 78 degrees, and then they're going to come check and make sure you're not raising it over 78 degrees. Then they'll probably fine you, and then they'll probably try to put you in jail if you do it. That's what communism is. That's what we are raising their red flag over, because we're not going to let that red flag fly over this United States Capitol. That's what's on the ballot this November.
That's what's on the ballot. And then we have this, the leftist posting a video of a park in New York City trying to say communism's working under Zohar Mamdani, but Bryant Park is privately funded. Capitalism, private security. Communists are clowns. And President Trump issuing a stark warning about the greatest threat.
You know, a couple of people said, I think you're probably right. I think this country, with this thing that's going around, is in more danger than it was during World War I, World War II. If you talk about September 11th, if you talk about Pearl Harbor, that was big danger. I think the concept of us going communist, because one thing that happens when you go communist, you never come back, never comes back. You die in squalor. You die a horrible death. You die in squalor. And it gets very evil and very nasty. Yeah, please go ahead.
These crazy little mini mandamis are a danger to you and your family. Mike Johnson said it. And I'm glad that he did. Because after a Sheikh Sadiq says abolishing the Senate is in the platform, nobody gets to hide behind cute labels anymore. Zohar Mamdani pushes the warmth of collectivism. Democrats flirt with gutting police and the communist state. And the DSA co-chair wants to bulldoze a chamber of Congress. That's not reform. That's a hostile takeover with a smiley face sticker slapped on it. And listen to Trump's warning right here. Once communism takes hold, you never come back. That's the sentence that slams the whole thing shut. Sadiq gave away the plan. Johnson named the threat, and Trump told you the cost. Freedom goes out and control. Freedom goes in and control comes out. So Democrats need to answer a Sheikh Sadiq tonight. Do you support abolishing the Senate? No hiding behind staff statements, okay? No legacy media fog machine. No smirking fact-check clown waving this way away while Mike Johnson says correctly, we're fighting communism on our own shores. You and I just watched the confession land on camera. We watched the scam collapse in Bryant Park. We watched Trump's warning line up with Johnson's alarm bell beat for beat. So now the job is simple. Name the radicals, reject the radicals, beat the radicals at the ballot box, back Trump's America First firewall, back the Republicans finally willing to say communism out loud, and force every Democrat to own the red banner that's rising inside their party. Because if a Sheikh Sadiq gets his way, the Senate falls first and the rest of the Republic stands there waiting for the wrecking ball. And we're not going to let that happen. And I'm going to make sure you are informed. That's why I set up this number. And thousands of patriots have already texted the words raw feed to 844-840-4963. I've read your comments. I'm just as frustrated as you are. You see what they're doing to this channel. And the only way around it is to cut them out completely. I'm talking about the Silicon Valley overlords who are controlling the news feeds, who are controlling the notifications, who are controlling the algorithm that is destroying this channel. Stay connected with us, and you can do that right now by texting raw feed to 844-840-4963, and I will send you the notification directly one time a night so you get the news that you have been depending on for years. Don't wait. Do it now. Okay. Don't wait. Do it now. All right, where are we going from here, Brian? This new Democrat plan outed. Velasquez admits it. Abolish ICE. Man, when are they going to get? What? It's just crazy. Abolish ICE. Why? Oh, you don't like what they're doing. Nadia Velasquez. Oh, these people are nuts. Okay. We must abolish ICE, period. Nadia Velasquez said it out loud. There it is. No mask, no soft focus, compassion spin. Velasquez just ripped the curtain down and told you exactly what the Democrat machine wants. No ICE, no border, no enforcement, no country. I want to stack that line next to Brandon Gill warning that they're importing a new electorate that stops becoming incompetence fast. This is strategy. Power first, Americans last. Now hang on, because the number out of Illinois and the quote out of Maine blow this thing wide open. Now buckle up, because more than 1,700 criminal illegal immigrants got released in Illinois. Let that sink in for just a moment. Gubernatorial candidate Darren Bailey just blasted J.B. Pritzker for it. And you can see the scam right there. Democrats talk tough about the bad guys, then block detainers and dump gang members, sex offenders, and violent criminals back onto American streets. And while blue states play that game, Andy Bashar keeps licenses flowing, even for drivers handling multi-ton trucks who can't understand basic English. You're going to see the traffic stop. What's a high beam? That's not a paperwork glitch. That is a public safety disaster with American families in the blast zone. Then look at Missouri. Mike Kehoe, partner with DHS, went straight at the predators and said, "We saved 8 children." 8. So don't let any Democrats sell you this as compassion. One side shields foreign lawbreakers and builds a pipeline to chaos. The other side backs ICE, backs DHS, and saves kids. And also breaking tonight, rising defense demand is pushing tungsten back into focus as Washington confronts a critical mineral supply chain gap tied to fighter jets, tanks, missiles, drones, and ammunition. The metal is now a tungsten national security priority, yet there's been no U.S. commercial tungsten mining since 2015. Project Vault, you may have heard me speak about it. It includes a $12 billion strategic stockpile alongside a $30 billion domestic production push and Pentagon funding restart efforts. Vault Strategic Mining, trading as KNOX in Canada and KNXFF in the United States, is assembling historic tungsten assets in mining-friendly U.S. jurisdictions. Its Nevada Great Basin flagship sits in historically productive tungsten region with Second World War history, approximately 10,000 feet drilled, and a USGS regional estimate of roughly 168,000 tons of tungsten oxide with estimated in-ground value of $30 to $50 billion. Follow the link in the description for the full briefing. Now let's jump to James Tallarico. He stood in Big Bend and worried a border wall hurts tourism. Tourism. Well, Nadia Velasquez screams abolish ICE. This guy wants you crying over sightseeing while the country gets flooded and the map gets rigged. Now, I had to stop on that line because it tells you how rotten this is. Democrats don't fear the invasion. They fear anything that slows it down. And the next receipts, Velasquez, Gill, and that Maine memorial quote lock in the whole pattern. Here she is, Democrat Representative Nadia Velasquez, parroting that tired line.
You cannot put a bandage on a system that is fundamentally broken. We must abolish ICE, period.
Yeah, good luck with that. Down in Texas, James Tellerico is pushing the same open borders agenda with a softer spin, whining that a border wall might hurt tourism.
A lot of our communities here in the Big Bend region depend on tourism. They depend on visitors from across Texas, people like me coming from Central Texas to get away and experience this natural beauty, and people across the country who come and visit the parks. And I'm worried about what this senseless border wall would do to our tourism here in the region, what it would do to our local economies, that we should be supporting and growing and cultivating, not attacking with political useless border walls.
These guys, they don't want a country at all. They don't want a country at all. So one Democrat trashes the wall to protect vacation traffic. Next, Congressman Brandon Gill lays out what the left is really protecting, using mass migration to rig seats and lock in power.
So they're losing elections, and in order to get over that, they need to import a new electorate. And I think that that's the motivating factor behind 4 years of open borders. Mass migration impacts congressional apportionment, taking congressional seats away from traditionally red states, benefiting traditional blue states. And we know that the left has been pushing for a path to citizenship for illegal aliens for a very long time. I think it's time that we stop allowing the left to systematically rig our elections in their favor by importing a new electorate.
And that's exactly what the illegal immigration issue is about. It's about stealing our elections with importing voters. We know that illegals are voting in our local elections and our federal elections, and they're rigging our votes that way, but they're also being used to rig congressional seats and redistricting. So the more illegals they can cram into one area, they can redistrict and then they can add congressional seats. And here's a congresswoman right here who says that she needs foreigners for this exact purpose. They aren't even hiding it. They're saying it out loud.
And from Brooklyn, New York, we have a diaspora that can absorb a significant number of these migrants. And when I hear colleagues talk about, the doors of the inn being closed, no room in the inn, I'm saying, I need more people in my district just for redistricting purposes. And
right there. Flood me with illegals, bring as many as you can, because then we can redistrict and we can keep our congressional seat forever and even expand it and get more seats. They are rigging our elections with illegals.
I mean, need I say more? Right there. Gill says Democrats aren't hiding the game anymore. They're importing a new electorate. Meanwhile, in Kentucky, the cost of lawlessness shows up on the road where Andy Bashar is under fire for licenses going to drivers who can't even handle basic safety commands. Innocent Americans are dying, Nick Sordor writes. Blood is on your hands, Andy Bashar.
Are you the registered owner of the vehicle?
Yeah.
You have a driver's license with you? You got the vehicle in park, right? Alright. You realize the speed limit through here is only 55, right?
55?
55.
And here is 50 or 55? How much is here?
55.
55. And I'm coming?
You're doing 64.
64.
You also have your high beams on. You're not supposed to have your high beams on when you got traffic around you. Any reason why you're driving down the road with high beams on with traffic around you?
I'm not sure. What do you say?
Your high beams.
High beam. What is a high beam?
What do you mean, what is a high beam?
I don't understand.
Bright lights.
bright light, the light.
Yes.
Oh, because I don't see nothing.
Okay, when you drive down the road with your high beams on, you blind traffic around you. It's illegal to do that.
Oh, I can do that.
No, they teach that in driver's ed. You're not allowed to drive
Oh yeah,
down the road with high beams on.
I turn on the light because I don't see with your light is white. Your light is white. I don't see good.
What's my light got to do with it? I have factory low beams. Those are regular headlights. What's my lights got to do with anything? So you saw my lights and turned your high beams on to blind me?
No, because I don't see good. I don't see. For your light is white. I don't see when you are close to me. I don't see good.
Okay,
It's all is black.
Why did you turn your high beams on?
To see better the street.
Okay. Why, when you saw me coming, why didn't you turn them off? Okay. Why didn't you turn them off when you saw me coming?
I don't understand good.
Because it's illegal to drive down the road with your high beams on with traffic approaching you. Don't stare at me with a blank stare. That necessitates an answer. It's illegal to drive down the road with your high beams on when traffic approaching you. So when I was approaching you, I even flashed my lights at you to tell you you have your high beams on. Why didn't you?
Andy Bashar refusing to stop issuing licenses to illegals driving multi-ton trucks with no ability to speak basic English. This guy wants to be president in 2028. That Kentucky stop is hard to watch, and it's exactly what happens when ideology beats public safety. In Illinois, J.B. Pritzker tries to sound tough on violent illegals, but his sanctuary state record tells a very different story. Darren Bailey says Pritzker is flat out lying. More than 1,700 criminal illegal immigrants have been released because Illinois refuses to honor detainers, including gang members, sex offenders, and other violent criminals.
Do you believe any illegal immigrant charged with or convicted of a felony should be deported?
I think they ought to take the violent criminals and get them out of my state and get them out of the country. I absolutely believe that, but that's not what they're doing. They said they were going after the worst.
You don't help them because you're a sanctuary state, right?
No, we do. If you bring us a judicial warrant, we will bring you all kinds of help on the ground to go get the bad guys. That's what we want. We want the bad guys off the streets. What we don't want is for people to get racially profiled. That's what's happening right now.
Darren Bailey calling them out. Pritzker says he wants the bad guys off the street, but the sanctuary dodge keeps protecting them. In Missouri, Governor Mike Kehoe shows what happens when a state actually works with DHS, arrests made, and 8 children saved.
My first day in office, I signed an executive order allowing us to participate in 287G, which allows our federal partners and our state agencies and assets to come together to solve crimes like this and take the worst of worst off the street. As you mentioned, 5 individuals from Mexico and Guatemala were arrested. We saved 8 children during this operation. We took advantage of, bad people trying to prey on innocent children during an international opportunity and a celebration like World Cup was. Coordination with FBI, with DHS, our Attorney General Catherine Hanaway, our Missouri State Highway Patrol, Kansas City PD, U.S. Marshals, all came together to solve this problem and to really take these guys off the street.
And that's the contrast in black and white, sanctuary excuses versus real enforcement. Next, Kevin Hassett explains why the Trump team is also cracking down on banks making risky loans to illegal aliens.
Trump regulators seek to discourage loans to undocumented immigrants. Quote, guidance from the nation's financial regulators urges banks to consider risks of offering loans to immigrants not authorized to work in the U.S. Kevin, this kind of seems like a no-brainer to me. Why would loans even be going to illegal immigrants in the first place?
Right. They should have been going there in the first place. And the bottom line is that if a bank is making lots of loans to people that might be deported because they have a criminal record or whatever, then obviously that person is probably not going to pay back the loan. And so we view this as a financial stability measure that makes a great deal of sense. And it's, I guess the interesting thing is that the regulators felt they had to issue that guidance, presumably because of something they discovered that was surprising.
So the administration is hitting the problem from every angle. on the street and in the financial system. But on the activist left, the response gets uglier. One local at a Maine memorial, openly talking about revolution and targeting ICE agents.
I believe that there's no way that anything's going to change without a revolution. I'm not going to do it because I'm too much of a coward. But I think that the death of Joan Sebastian, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name yet, but I'll look it up. And my heart really does go out to his family. You know, it's really sad. I'm against any form of killing that's like unjustified, and this was maybe one of the most unjustified ones I can imagine. The guy wasn't armed. He wasn't even the guy they were looking for. They just like shot a guy 4 times, and it's like I don't think that people should stop until every ICE agent is persecuted.
What's it like to see the memorial growing and to see the attention now being brought on your community?
It's strange because I for a while I believed that Biddeford was like, or at least Maine in general, was a little different from like the other states, and we wouldn't really like deal with a killing like Minneapolis did.
So that tells you exactly where this anti-ICE movement leads when Democrats and the media keep feeding it. Next, a Wisconsin Democrat gets hit with simple questions about sanctuary policies, ICE, and CDLs for illegals, and suddenly has nothing to say.
Rebecca Cook, why do you support illegal aliens having CDLs? Why did you call ICE disgusting? You have no comment on that? Why do you want Wisconsin to be a sanctuary city? Do you have no comment?
Wisconsin Democrat Rebecca Cook can't even answer why she chooses to fight for illegal aliens over Americans. She can't explain. And Charlie Kirk, the late Charlie Kirk, closes it out with the plain truth the establishment hates to hear.
By the way, don't call them immigrants. They're line cutters and border jumpers. Immigrants are people that wait in line and fill out the forms and come here correctly. Don't conflate the two. Don't conflate the two. When you border jump, you're not an immigrant. You're something completely different.
A criminal? Is that what you're going to say?
You're not an equivalent.
An equivalent of what? A human?
One is a criminal. One is a rule follower. One is a lawbreaker. One is someone who waits in line.
Charlie Kirk. There's no way anything's going to change without a revolution. Came from Biddeford, Maine. Then the same memorial attendees snapped that every ICE agent should be persecuted. Persecuted. Look at the chain here. Nydia Velasquez demands ICE be abolished. Rebecca Cook ducks when asked why she called ICE disgusting. Sanctuary bosses like J.B. Pritzker block cooperation. Radicals on the ground escalate from anti-ICE slogans to open hostility towards federal agents. This is not random. This is the culture that Democrats built, fed, and rewarded. And Brandon Gill put the motive on the table. They're importing a new electorate. That's the entire racket. Cripple enforcement, embed illegal aliens in blue state systems, count them for seats, chase amnesty, and lock in power after actual Americans fire them. That's not mercy. That's conquest with a smile and a press conference. Count only U.S. citizens in the census. Nydia Velasquez can scream all day. That's the answer, though. Shut the seat-stealing scam down. Back ICE, finish the wall, end sanctuary obstruction. Stop the loans that Kevin Hassett flagged. Stop the CDLs and licenses that blue state and blue city Democrats hand out like candy. And you and I need to say this cleanly. Charlie Kirk was right. These are line cutters and border jumpers, not heroic immigrants waiting in line and honoring our laws. If Democrats want to abolish ICE, protect detainer releases, and fight for non-citizens over citizens, then we have to name them and corner them and on every inch of it. The Trump administration has already shown the country what real leadership looks like when Missouri can save 8 children by partnering with DHS. That is the path. Not surrender, not excuses, and not another fake sermon about compassion while Americans bury the cost. And we're not going to let YouTube bury the notifications either. That's why we set up this phone number just for you, this raw feed alert system. Just text the words raw feed to 844-840-4963. You're going to bypass the algorithmic suppression of our channel and get the news that you have already subscribed to. I've seen your comments. I've seen your frustration. I want to make sure you get the news that we produce just for you so you can make informed decisions for yourself and your family. Thousands and thousands of patriots have already signed up, and they're getting the benefit every single night when I send them a text message with the news they depend on. Do not delay. Join the list now. We'll see you at the next report. For the Next News Network, I'm Gary Franchi. Oh, man. It's so obvious, guys. They want the open borders. They want to gerrymander, stack their districts. It's dangerous. We are in a serious fight right now for this country, guys. But we do have some news that's on the positive side. But President Trump's economy is raging. We got the news on that. Kevin Hassett said Bloomberg surveyed 67 economists and 67 got it wrong. Let that sink in. Every single expert in the room missed a June CPI drop of 0.4%, the biggest one-month decline since April of 2020. While they spent years lecturing working Americans that Trump would make inflation worse. No, Biden torched your paycheck. And now Trump is crushing the inflation machine faster than the economist priesthood predicted. Now I want you to stay with me on this because the part that really blows up the whole anti-Trump scam is not just the 0.4%. It's the core number. And it wrecks your story even harder. You see, June CPI fell 0.4% and core inflation landed at 2.6%. See, that's not some abstract chart for the cable news addicts. See, that hits your grocery bill, your gas tank, your rent pressure, your family budget. You know it, I know it. We all lived through Joe Biden's inflation wrecking ball when prices ripped higher and the regime's economists kept making excuses while normal Americans got hammered. And now look at this reversal. Trump walked in after Biden left behind a 9.1% inflation nightmare 4 years ago, and the numbers are moving the right way so fast the entire expert class got caught flat-footed, every single one of them. 67 out of 67, that's not a mess. That's a cartel of credentialed frauds getting exposed on the same day families finally get a little breathing room. And when Tim Scott says Americans can breathe a sigh of relief because President Trump stepped up to the plate, read that again. He stepped up while Biden's crowd lit the fire. Trump grabbed the hose. And when 67 economists missed the same call, I started looking harder at the hidden problems the expert class ignores. Parasite purge starts with a man whose eyes stayed red and blurry for 8 months until doctors found a worm moving inside it after eating uncooked fish. Graphic, yes. Rare, well, the World Health Organization says 1 in 2 are affected by parasitic infection prevalence. That can show up like brain fog, chronic fatigue, pain that won't go away, IBS-like symptoms, even severe chronic conditions. Well, Jonathan Otto, he built a typical cleanse alternative, the full-spectrum parasite elimination protocol with a science-backed parasite formula plus red and near-infrared light therapy. That's all to support healthy cellular function and natural detoxification processes. Plus, free bonuses like the 10-day intensive parasite detox protocol to prepare your body, support the cleansing process, and maximize your results. Go to PurgeMyParasitesNow.com. Use code NNN45 to save 45% for a limited time because the frauds never warn you early. So April 2020 was the last time America saw a monthly CPI drop this big. And that's the detail I keep coming back to, because the media spent months trying to sell you the lie that Trump's second term would unleash chaos on prices. Instead, we got the biggest one-month decline in over 6 years. And look how brutal that is for the Bloomberg class. They didn't miss by a little. They built an entire narrative around Trump failing, and June just torched it. I'm going to get to the tweets. You're going to see it. Watch how Trump's allies hammer that point with the receipts. Fox News breaking this: inflation posting the biggest one-month drop since April of 2020.
Key inflation numbers just released for the month of June. The Consumer Price Index shows inflation slowing 0.4% month over month, more than economists expected, marking the largest one-month decrease since April 2020. The year-over-year rate now at 3.5%. Our graphic had that reversed before. This comes as Federal Reserve Chair Kevin Warsh is heading to Capitol Hill to testify for the first time since taking over at the central bank in May.
So Fox laying out the headline: June CPI falling 0.4%, the biggest monthly drop since 2020. Now watch the market reaction, where CNBC breaks down just how badly the so-called experts missed the number.
Go. This is our June release of the Consumer Price Index, expecting a headline number to be negative 0.1%. This is 4 times more negative, minus 0.4%. That would be the biggest negative drop that we've seen since 4/20, since basically COVID timing, which really affected, of course, all of the inflation data points. So that goes back, well, basically 6-year low. And if we look at the CPI month over month on the core, also under expectations, comes in at goose egg, 0. 0 would be the smallest amount. It would equal Jan of 21. To find a smaller change or a more negative change, or minus 0.1%, that's May of 2020. And if we look at the year-over-year numbers, year-over-year headline, 3.5, 0.3 less than expected, much less than the 4.2 in the rearview mirror. That would be the lightest since March of this year, when it was 3.3. Year-over-year core, 2.6. 0.2 less than expectations, 0.3 less than the rearview mirror. 2.6 equals March. 2.5 brings you to February of this year.
So CNBC's own numbers show inflation came way below expectations. Next, Kevin Hassett drives the knife in Bloomberg. They surveyed 67 economists, and every single one of them got it wrong.
It's sure, energy prices have come down a lot, but everything else is going down too. And I think that's why, if you look at Bloomberg, they surveyed 67 economists, and 67 economists got it wrong because they didn't understand that it wasn't just about energy. It's about all these other things that President Trump is doing to cut costs.
Big thing Americans obviously care about are gas prices, especially during the summertime. If we can pull up this AAA chart showing gas prices. Right now, they're down from what they were about a month ago, but they're still significantly higher than they were this time 1 year ago. Obviously, the war in Iran is throwing a wrench into this. As long as that conflict is going on, should Americans expect these prices to just basically keep seesawing?
Well, I think that one of the ways you should think about it is that the oil prices were up almost at $150 a barrel at the peak of the conflict, and now they're low 80s today, and they were in the 60s and 70s just a week ago. So what happens is they take the oil, they move it to the refinery, and then they turn it into gasoline. So there's a whole bunch of gasoline deflation on the way. And even with the renewed conflict, if you look at what oil prices are today, they're about half of what they were in the peak.
So Hassett says it wasn't just energy easing off, it was Trump's cost-cutting agenda. Now, even on CNBC, Senator Tim Scott is making the case Americans can thank Trump, not the Biden mess or the media spin.
I understand what you're saying, Andrew, but the bottom line is simply this. Why are the numbers tough for the beginning of the Trump administration? It's because the cumulative value of 4 years of President Biden, things got worse and worse and worse. So, of course, they've gotten better, but they've gotten better because President Trump has made very hard decisions to close our southern border, to pass tax cuts so that the average American has more of their money to hold on to. Those are really important changes that could be transformational over time. And then you look at the birth of the artificial intelligence conversation. This is going to actually increase productivity, which will increase wages without actually seeing a significant drop in employment. I've sat down with some of the largest CEOs from Walmart to Amazon's retail CEO, and they tell me the same story. Employment numbers look good. They're not laying people off. Augmentation is really important, not automation. Augmentation means that people will do more work with more opportunities, more resources because of artificial intelligence. They won't lose their jobs, which would be automation. This is a good story for us to talk about as it relates to the impact of the Trump years.
So Tim Scott pins the cooling inflation on Trump reversing the damage from 4 years ago. Next, Trump responds himself, saying the new report proves prices are coming down in his term and getting it done.
Unfold now that strikes on Iran?
I think so. I think it's going to, inflation's down. We inherited the worst inflation in the history of our country. They say 48 years. It was the worst in the history of our country from Biden, Sleepy Joe. He might have been sleepy, but boy, he could create inflation like nobody. And I inherited that, and I got blamed for it, and it's not my fault. We are putting it to sleep. And we've done a great job, Scott and Howard and Marco and even Pete, because he's watching his dollars, right? But they've done a fantastic job. We've all done a fantastic job. So we had the worst inflation in history and the history of our country. I mean, we had months where it was 9 and 10%. And now we have a report just came out. It was just released. Thank you for bringing it up. But the report was incredible. Inflation is way down. That means prices are coming way down, and we're doing a great job.
We inherited the worst inflation in the history of our country, and we're putting it to sleep. Trump said it straight to the cameras, and now the numbers back him up. That's the knockout. Biden created the mess. Biden's handlers denied it. Democrat media servants weaponized it. Bloomberg's 67 economists blessed the whole scam with bad forecasts and smug certainty. Then June lands, minus 0.4% core at 2.6%, and the biggest monthly drop since April of 2020. I mean, read that line again from Hassett again. 67 economists got it wrong. All of them, not one, not five, all 67. That's the expert class getting cornered by reality in broad daylight while Trump cleans up the wreckage they told you could never be fixed. So Bloomberg's 67 economists need to answer for 67 blown forecasts today. Don't let these people slither off, change the subject, and pretend it never happened. They spent years covering for Biden while families got crushed by the inflation tax. They sneered at Trump. They rooted against recovery because they hate the man more than love the country. And now June CPI drops. In Trump's own words, we're putting it to sleep. Sounds less like spin and more like a receipt. So here's what I think we should do with this. We bank the win, we celebrate the relief, and we keep naming the people who lied when it mattered. Kevin Hassett gave you the cleanest number in the whole story, 67 for 67 wrong. Burn that into your memory, because the next time one of these television experts lectures you about Trump, you'll know exactly where to file it. I want to make sure you're filing all the videos too. Yeah, the notifications that never arrive. Make sure you text raw feed to 844-840-4963 and get on the insiders list and get the notifications from me when YouTube never sends them. Okay, Brian, I'm not sure what happened on that thing, but I'm trying to adjust it because we have... Okay, I'm going to have to push these back an hour. I'll take care of it on this side. I don't know if you're listening or not, but... What the hell? No. Shit, 9 o'clock. Ugh. That's going out at 9. My God. 9. 10. And then this is going to go out at 11. I don't know why that was misscheduled, but okay, I fixed it. Oh, okay. I love you guys. All right, just I'm like looking at the clock. I'm like, we got a video was supposed to drop at 8 o'clock, didn't drop at 8 o'clock, and The 9 o'clock video was about to drop, so I had to move the 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. I had like three minutes to get the change done and get it scheduled so it drops at the right time, and then push the other ones back. And YouTube backend wasn't playing nice, but hey, we got it in time. A razor's edge every single day right here at the Next News Network, and you are riding along shotgun with every live broadcast. You're seeing how it's all made. And I'm glad you guys joined us tonight. So many people. Look at it, 38,000 people watching live on all platforms. X at Next News, X Trump Daily Posts, on our flagship YouTube channel. We started in 2012. It's an answer to the media smearing Ron Paul. We said we're not going to let that happen again. So we launched this channel, and we have been blazing a trail ever since. Yes, often duplicated, never replicated, right here at the Next News Network. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night, and God bless.